There are stories in Formula One that aren't played out on the track, but behind closed doors in the boardrooms, the garages, and in the tense conversations that never make the official highlight reels, Alpine's current driver Saga is one of them. On paper, it looks like a straightforward mid-season swap. Franco Colapinto in, Jack Doohan out. In reality, it's a tangled mess of ambition, politics, and misplaced expectations that has now left both drivers' careers in a precarious position. It all began back in May, when Alpine made the shock decision to sideline Doohan after just part of a season. The official explanation was an evaluation period for Colapinto, a driver's chance to prove himself. But within days, team boss Flavio Briatore was dropping hints that Colapinto's stay could be permanent if he produced the right results. It was a bold gamble from a man who thrives on bold gambles. The problem? The results haven't come. 8 races later, Alpine still sits rooted to the bottom of the Constructors' Championship. Colapinto has yet to score a single point, and the one big headline he's made was for a high-speed crash. During testing at the Hungaroring crash, that not only damaged the car, but disrupted crucial Pirelli tire testing for 2026. For a team already enduring one of its worst seasons in memory, this was the last thing they needed. It brought the whole messy situation back into focus, forcing even those inside Alpine to ask the question, was the driver swap ever worth it? Colapinto's defenders are quick to point out that he has been thrown into a brutal situation. This is not the Alpine of old. This is a car with flashes of pace but serious weaknesses, particularly in race trim and on circuits that require fine-tuned energy management. It's a package that can make a good driver look average and an average driver look hopeless. Add to that the fact that Colapinto had no preseason testing, and like every other driver on the grid, it's no wonder he struggled to adapt. His very first Alpine qualifying session ended in a crash, and from that moment on, he seemed unsettled, unable to tap into the confidence that had defined his stunning cameo for Williams in 2024. The differences between the Williams and the Alpine were stark. The Alpine's much stiffer platform demanded a different driving approach, one Colapinto had to learn on the fly while racing at the highest level. Briatore didn't make life easier. From day one, he made it clear that Colapinto wasn't there to learn, he was there to score points. But that pressure, combined with the reality of a tricky, unpredictable car, created a perfect storm. Yes, there have been flashes of potential Pierre Gasly in Canada and again in Hungary, looking competitive in Britain before spinning out of Q1, but these moments have been isolated, and often undermined by Alpine's own operational missteps, such as the wheel gun issues in Hungary, that cost him over 13 seconds in pit stops. The raw numbers remain damning. Colapinto trails Gasly 13-0 in points, and for all the talk of potential, he hasn't proven he can consistently bring the car into the fight. Meanwhile, Jack Doohan has been forced into the role of spectator, the forgotten man of Alpine's 2025 campaign, and yet, when you dig into the data, his performances stack up remarkably close to Colapinto's in qualifying. Doohan averaged a starting position of 15.5, with a best of 11th in Bahrain. His average gap to Gasly was just 0.16 seconds, a smaller deficit than Colapinto's, 0.25 seconds. He outqualified Gasly twice, in the China Sprint and the Miami Grand Prix, and while his stint was far from flawless, he consistently showed glimpses of being able to challenge his teammate. Mistakes did cost him, like a first lap crash in Australia and a practice shunt in Japan, but context matters. In Japan, he was working with a new engineering team and had been shuffled aside for a reserve driver in FP1, hardly an ideal build-up. There were also moments of rotten luck, such as the lap 1 incident in Miami after outqualifying Gasly, or penalties in China and Bahrain that derailed promising weekends. Doohan's results on paper don't scream future star, but the underlying speed and work ethic were there. Crucially, he seemed to be building momentum, especially after setup changes and preseason testing began to suit his driving style. That's why the mid-season swap hit so hard. It wasn't just a loss of a seat, it was a loss of trajectory, of the chance to prove that early season struggles could be turned into late season redemption. And from Doohan's perspective, watching Colapinto's stint fail to improve Alpine's fortunes must feel like salt in the wound. The summer break offers the perfect moment to take stock. For Alpine, this is the one window to make a decision without the chaos of a race weekend. But the choice is a minefield. Sticking with Colapinto offers continuity, but also risks another half-season of underwhelming results. Bringing back Doohan might offer a performance boost, or it might simply confirm that neither driver can drag this Alpine into consistent points. And then there's the shadow of 2026 looming over every decision. That's the year Alpine will switch to Mercedes power, a move Briatore has repeatedly said will catapult them up the order. If that's true, then the driver lineup they settle on now could define their competitive future. Colapinto's best hope is to build on his Hungary performance and prove it wasn't just a one-off. Doohan's advantage is that he's an Alpine Academy product, the homegrown talent the team once held up as a symbol of their ability to develop drivers after the embarrassment of losing Oscar Piastri. Bringing him back could be framed as a return to that vision. But Briatore has shown he's not swayed by sentiment only performance. And performance, in his eyes, is something neither man has yet delivered convincingly. That leaves the door open for an entirely different path. Rumors of interest in Valtteri Bottas have faded, but the idea of promoting reserve driver Paul Aron has been floated. He's been gaining FP1 experience and continuing Alpine's testing program, and in theory, he represents a fresh start without the baggage of the current situation. The catch: replacing Colapinto with Aron would break the reported agreement that any change would see Doohan reinstated, risking internal friction in an already fragile team dynamic. What makes this whole saga so frustrating is that it was avoidable. Alpine's driver instability is a symptom of deeper issues: volatile leadership, inconsistent performance, and a tendency to chase quick fixes rather than build patiently. The swap from Doohan to Colapinto was meant to be a calculated test for 2026, but instead it's turned into a distraction that has cost valuable time and morale. Now, whichever path Briatore chooses, someone will pay the price. If Colapinto is kept, Doohan may see his F1 career close before it ever truly began. If Doohan is brought back, Colapinto could find himself without a seat anywhere, unless a team like Cadillac takes a gamble on him for their 2026 entry. Both are young, both have talent, and both have been chewed up by the unforgiving machinery of Formula One politics. The sad truth is that this is the reality of the sport. Talent alone isn't enough. An opportunity often depends on being in the right place at the right time, under the right leadership. Alpine is running out of time to make that leadership count. The summer break won't last forever, and when racing resumes, the scrutiny will only intensify. Fans, sponsors, and rivals will be watching to see whether Alpine finally takes control of this mess or lets it drag on until the end of the year. For Colapinto, for Doohan, and for Alpine's credibility, the next decision could be decisive. And maybe that's the real tragedy, because in the end, one promising career will likely be sacrificed. Not for lack of ability, but because a team couldn't decide what, or who, it truly wanted. So as we wait for the lights to go out again, remember this: Formula One is as much about survival as it is about speed. And in this game, even the fastest can be left behind. If you've got thoughts on who should get that Alpine seat, let's hear them in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because this is a story that's far from over.